Okay, I had to ignore all the sound in the background and all that BS. But anyway, Opalholics are us. You're joining us today. I don't know. I'm just gonna have you guys at the bench with me. I'm making some pendants, as you can see here. Those are different pendants. We'll do prong settings. Might jibber jabber a little bit, might not. As you see here, I'm a piece of cardboard. I've drawn my designs. I've did my layout for where my prongs are gonna go. Stuff like that. So, like I said, probably won't do a lot of talking. Just gonna sit here and do what I do, make things, and you guys will be here joining me in the fun and the joy of it. So, other than that, that's what we're doing. Starting here by laying out our prong locations. So here's a Mexican opal. Setting up the prongs here, okay. That's good. Have everything laid out. I'm just gonna go ahead and get these all set up so that way I can start cutting. Doing what I need to do. What's nice about the black marker, the color disappears when your silver gets to the temperature it needs to be for annealing. So it's not permanent on there, which is really cool. So we're a little bit off here, which is not a big deal. Let's get rid of that mark. You know, that's comes in handy. Like marker makes it nice and easy, so you can, mark stuff up, and it's not permanent. Doesn't ruin anything, which is always nice. So this one there. There we go. It's a little bit better. And probably, whatever. Good enough. Okay, moving on. Moving on here. Nice and square. Oops. Okay, that works. Good. Okay. Okay. So anyway, moving on. We'll do some. I got some other gems over here, so we do that. We're doing. I have wire. Just so everybody knows, for the prongs on these particular ones, it's going to end up kind of like this one here. Here was the pear-shaped one, which is a lightning ridge piece I got somewhere. But we like to make some nice fat prongs. We cut them, we can either point them, flatten them, whatever. But this seems to work really well, this size. If I remember right, this is 16 gauge. This is, 1.27, 1.28. So I can always go to my cheat sheet here and go 1.28 is 16 gauge. So yeah. So 16 gauge wire is what we're using for our prongs. I like to use 16 or 18, to be honest with you. That's the size I use. So to start out with, what we need to do for prongs, because if we don't, it's just a pain in the butt. But so the first thing I do is I will sit there and get the location, set up my saw, and notch everywhere. I'm going to put a prong. That's the first thing. I just notch it about the depth of the blade, that's it. So, use your finger as a guide for the, oops. That's why this tray is so nice. Catches everything when you drop it, because I don't know about you guys, but I drop stuff all the time, like religiously. Like, I mean, seriously, religiously, I drop things big time. Maybe I have trouble holding on to it. Like sometimes I do. It really depends on the piece. Like there's a small one there, and if I do, I just use my red pliers here, which is not a big deal. And I use those as a guide, and it also works really good for holding things. It's actually way quicker than the hand, but you know, I just forget to do it sometimes, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so we have our notches made, and then I break out the old, I personally grab the triangle file, but whatever. I need to verify too, like when you're doing your prongs, you kind of want to verify that this looks good here, uniform across, uniform down, just so when you're done, it visually is going to look good. I mean, you can be off. It's up to you on your pieces, on how you want them to look. I like to, you know, try to make them visually aesthetic. And what I'll do with this is I'll go to the depth I want to go. And so like this one here, because we're going to be cutting the prongs, and this here is going to be a Mexican Contra Lots opal. This one here is really a pretty opal. So I'm just going to look, and on these we're going to go almost full depth because our outer silver is big enough to do so. So we're going to use our file and go and cut our depth. So our depth is what we want. Or pretty close. Pretty close to the correct depth. Don't have to be perfect. We'll get that with the rotary tool. We'll get ready to start cutting it. We're doing 4 prongs on these ovals. I think that'll be sufficient. That gives us 2 top, 2 bottom, which should be fine. And same thing, you can use your pliers for this part of it also. So, oops. Okay, so we have that set. There's something else we're gonna look at, but I can't remember right now. Okay, so we have that. We know that our wire is 1.29. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with a 1.3 round. That's 1.1, 1.3. So what we got here is we have the 1 point, just a round. Make sure you're using your burr, you know, lubricant. Makes a huge difference in this stuff, it really does. And this here sucks, because sometimes these get away and go and run down the side of your piece, which really sucks. This is where having it notched ahead of time really helps out tremendously. You know, once you have it started. And also depends, like this one here, the silver's wide enough, so we're just gonna go basically straight up and down. Sometimes when the silver's really tight, we'll have to angle out a little bit so our prong's gonna come out and bring it back in. It's just a matter of looking at it and just getting used to it. But like these ones here, we're going straight up and down for full depth. So we're almost gonna make it to where the prongs are in here and almost flush with the outside. So right now, here we go. Go, go, go. And we're about 1 point, oh shoot, about 1.2. Our wire is 1.3, so probably about 1.1, 1.2 in depth, which is good. We'll stick out just a little bit, not much. About what we want. And the same thing, don't forget your burr lubricant. Shoot, just got away from me. You don't realize it except for like here, yeah. Like these really small ones. This is a ball burr. If you do not use your lubricant all the time and go slow, go high speed, the heat can sit there and burn up your bits and completely dull them out, and that sucks. It really does. You know, as much as these burrs cost, sometimes you can spend $30 for just one burr. So to have them overheat on you and dull out on your first or second time of use, it can get very pricey. Mistakes when this stuff is a couple of bucks, man, to buy burr life. I mean, that would save your burrs. yeah, just make sure you're using your burr life. It's really important. And it keeps your burrs nice and sharp, so they're always cutting good for you. It's just such an easy, cheap thing to do. It's almost, why would you not do it? There we go. And then you can see how our depth looks good there. So continuing on. And you can tell too, it makes a big difference when you have your lubricant on how these cut. I found that going up and down along the burr, I don't know if it really helps or not, but I feel like it does. I feel like it cuts a little faster when you do that. And I always do angle out just a little bit, even if I don't need to. These only have to be straight up and down, but like I said, because of the size of the opal and the size of the setting itself, we can go and straight up and down. Being at a 90-degree angle to your setting is very important. So things look right. If you don't, gosh darn it, when you go to set your prong, if it's at an angle like this, visually it won't be appealing to the eye. It'll look weird. We're gonna have to resand this because stupid burr. And again, burr got away from me. And once again, more burr life makes a big difference. Depth when you go a little deeper here. But you can see right there how much easier it cuts. It really does cut so much better when you lubricate your burrs. It really does. So just kind of look at it, make sure it visually looks good, make sure your depths all match. Well, that'll be for the Mexican. And once again, let's go ahead and just set this out of the way. And let's do our next one. Let's get it cut, ready to go. Those same things, set up where we have our layout marks. And, oops, sorry, get our saw. And depth is going to be the same thing, about a half a blade in depth. And look across the other side, make sure our lines match. If they don't, you can fix it. You can relay it out. Or you saw cut it, like right there. Way too high. Way too high. Way too high. I just cannot get these to match up very well. Gosh darn it. There we go. And make sure it looks all right. All right, it's going to be no, it is the last one. Okay. So our last notch is going to be the correct one. It did work out. So since it's already started, let's make sure they're correct. And make it a little bit deeper. And because of where we're at, let's get this file cut real quick. I don't want to get sidetracked onto a different one. And wow, I got carried away on that and got really deep. Pay attention to your saw, what you're doing. Or I'm over here jibber jabbering, not paying attention. Yeah, and not jibber jabbering and not watching what I'm doing. Okay. Looks like this notch here needs to go down just a little bit, and that one maybe up a little bit. So anyway, so let's continue with our same thing with your saw blade. Make sure you are. Make sure you're there. Make sure your depth is right. I've lost my mark. Where's my second one here? So we're on the. So we're on this one. Okay. That relayed out. So we're there. Okay. So here we go. We'll get a square. There we go. Quick little notch, verify it. And once again, I'm a little bit off. This one here is just kicking my butt. It really is. It's really kicking my butt. So I'll go down just a little bit. Okay. Good, there we go. Okay. Down for a second. Down for a second. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully, these bad notches, these bad little nicks, can get filled in with solder and get re-sanded down. If we can't, worst case scenario, it's either not going to look good. We'll have to rebuild it. Okay, good. This look good. And as if it doesn't fill, we may just honestly have to redo the whole setting. Yeah. It's no fun, but we may have to do that. Yeah. We may have to. There we go. That looks pretty good. Same thing, about half a blade deep on our cuts. Okay, there we go. Next. And like I said, a little bit deep, which is all right. If it does get a little deep, like I said, we'll just fill in with solder. And good, those both look good. Fill in with solder, fill in with something. And if for some reason we cannot get that done, we may have to rebuild. Like I said, these here are all 12 gauge square wire, what we're using for the, we have a berth, so we're good to go there. Is what we're using for the base of these settings. So once again, like I said, we have these couple of messed up areas. Make sure your tray is always pulled out. And once again, we got to deal with this. And if we don't, if we're not careful, it's always starting out as, gosh darn it, right there. It's always starting out where it gets you. And it's the same thing. This one here is a Brazilian. Let's double check this gemstone and see how we want to notch these. Okay, so this one here, we're gonna be really close to the edges. So We're doing the same thing. We're gonna angle out just a little bit, not much. Just a little bit to help with, I'm gonna go to set these later. Shoot, got away from, god darn it. Arrgh. I hate that, it just keeps getting away from me. What it's gonna do is it's just gonna notch up the sides of these, which sucks. So, oh, because I wasn't paying attention and it was, anyway. So once again, we're gonna go like this. Then we're gonna kind of go back at an angle, not 45, probably about 5-10 degrees. And on the top, we're gonna go at least a half. And I'll show you how we'll fix that later, because we're gonna be cutting it back either way to make sure the gemstone fits. So we're about halfway there, so we're gonna angle this back at 5 to 10 degrees. And when we like it, we're gonna flip it over. And we're gonna check this dimension here from the edge of the hole to the inside, edge of the hole to inside. And I usually just visually check it out, and visually those look just fine. So let's get some burr lubricant again. And oh man, it keeps getting away from me. So same thing, give ourselves a little bit of love once it's fit in there. Give yourself your little angle. And the same thing, check your depth, which is needs to go a little deeper still. Okay, look about a half there, about 3/4 on the back side, good. Okay, burr life. Okay. That's right. And the same thing, look at our top. Looks pretty good. Look underneath, looks pretty good. Double check it visually, make sure everything looks nice and even, which it does. So set that down. Going on to the next one. We got 3 of them we're gonna work on right now, and we'll work on the other 3 in just a minute. So we haven't filed these yet. We have, we've done our saw work, but what the file does is it opens up just a little bit more to allow that burr to get in there, and gives that burr basically a line to follow. So we're not having it jump around while we're trying to make our cutting with that burr. So once again, we're cutting. We're looking away, everything looks good. And make sure you put your file away, same thing. Little burr life, there we go. And this one here is a Wheelo gem. So let's go and grab our Wheelo, and let's see what we look like here. We're about medium here. We did trim it down, so we're a little tighter than most. So we'll look at that. And the same thing, we're going to go ahead and give it that 5-10 degree angle. So once again, give it a little bit of love here. Let's try it. Okay. And once it gets started, there we go. Now we're getting in there. Okay. Yes, okay. And then once again, we're doing our angle. And it got away from me again. Okay. So about a half to 3/4 on the bottom. God, it's just getting away from me, goodness. More cleanup, I swear. And the same thing, half, 3/4 at the angle that we want. And a little bit of burr life. And back into our notch. Start kind of slow and steady. Up and down, make sure our notch is started. We're close to our half now. And we'll work on our angle. So we go 1/2 and 3/4, half on top, perfect. 3/4 underneath. And we want to do this the same day that we're going to be setting our prongs too, because we need everything clean when we get ready to solder everything together. If it's not clean, the solder won't adhere correctly. And the last thing you need is things falling apart. And no, this prong still look good. It's just the black marks and stuff on there. Makes it it's hard to see. Okay, so we can go ahead and put our burr away. So burr gets put away, the 1.3. Let's double check, make sure our wire looks good. Make sure it looks good in here. Make sure this. So we're just double checking, making sure that fits in there nice and tight, which it does. Everything's looking nice and snug. So, well, you need it tight so the solder fills the gap for one, and that way it'll look clean for another. So, and that's our couple of issues that we usually have. So, right now we're looking good. Okay. So, me personally, on my prongs, just make sure they're always long enough. I like to run and go about 10, 12, 10 to 15. Give myself a 90-degree turn with my pliers. And then I will set this in the setting, making sure that it's going the correct way that I want it to go. I'll set it, make sure it's tight. Line it up. Get my pliers. Get my marker. Oops. Make sure it's set where I want it to set. Line it back up. Mark where the 90 needs to be, which is what I just did. Set my marker. Put this away. And then now from that mark, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go from our mark about 10 to 15 and make a cut. Set this down. Pliers. Set it with our pliers. I'm going to go right to where our black mark is. Go just a little bit past it. And give us that 90-degree turn. Okay. Boom. Same thing. Now, make sure, check for our stamp because that's on bottom. And put this in there. Make sure it's tight. Make sure we're going to have proper prongs. Okay. Oops, make sure this looks good on the back side. Okay. And what we're doing, of course, is we're checking this bottom, making sure this gap here looks good. Once we get it lined up where we want it, go ahead and bend our prongs in a little bit to set it. So our piece is set in there where we want it. Okay. So we look good there. So once we have that set, go ahead and pull it out, set it down. And that's our first one. So next one, same thing. We come over, we look at our 10 to 15. Since it's gonna be the next one down the line, it's gonna be a little bit further, so we'll go ahead and go with 15 for now. And then same thing, we're going to go ahead, other side this time, set it up, hold on to it, grab our marker. Once again, a little dot where our mark is. Set our piece out of the way. Same thing, black mark, measure 15. Boom. Cut, set this down. If it's a little long, don't worry. We'll just throw it in our scrap pile. And we're bending. Okay, looking good. Make sure we put our stuff back where it goes, of course. So now we're here. Oops, sorry. We're here and here, where it needs to go. Double check our distance, make sure that looks good. Put that where it goes, looking good. Pop this out, set this down. Get our wire brush here, and I hold it at the tip of the prongs because once again, oops, we got to get all the polish and everything off of the silver. Do the outside, and then the inside. puts it down. Same thing, grabbing the prongs. And then to the inside here. Okay. And because of what it is, see, we've got this, we got that, and I usually use my sticks, but for this kind of stuff, I like to use my solder wire. So I've got soft silver solder wire on my prongs here. So let's go ahead and grab this. So first one was this one. And we've got everything sanded, so let's go ahead and get that set. And let's get that in there like we want it. Make sure it's set good. Once again, double check our prongs, make sure they're square, they're straight up and down. Everything looking good. Okay. Everything's looking good. Okay, other side now. And then once again, get this till it touches. We're gonna go ahead and touch, like so we're touching there. Make sure it's kind of square. We don't want it to, one side. If one side's going up versus the other one, it'll set your prongs all kind of cattywampus. And just won't look right later on when you go to finish up the work. So a little bit off here and there is probably not that big a deal. So now that I make sure that everything looks good, try not to make a mess with your solder, with your flux, sorry. So I just flux the living hoot out of it. Okay, I'm gonna set this down here. And the same thing, we're gonna flux the living hoot out of it, get it all nice and I want that solder to flow nice. So let's stick that back in there in our little tub. Get our paper towel, clean ourselves off. I need to add a little water to that flux. It's getting a little dry. Yeah, I ended up getting this little bowl here. It works really good, actually. It makes it nice and easy. Keep my stuff in there. I have a nice little lid for my brush and stuff. Keeps it from drying out for the most part. I mean, it dries out a little bit slowly, but it's not real bad. For the most part, it keeps it pretty good. So, it's like $3 or $4. I think I picked it up on Amazon or something. So, let's go ahead and get this all warmed up. Turn this on. And the same thing, that's why I always say we need to get used to soldering, heating everything up with your left hand, and that way you can use your right hand for solder and tweezers and other stuff that you need to work with. So, and because the pen itself is going to be the thing that takes a little while to get hot, try to work on that first. Launch the prongs. You can get those things hot fast to where you can literally melt them, and it does suck. So let's go ahead and get this nice and warm here. Getting this hot here. Oh, there we go. We just want to get it hot to where we touch. Or we just touch. Boom, there we go. Just want to touch it. There we go. That's all we're trying to do. We just want to get it hot to where, there we go, to where the solder just, you touch it with the solder, and then the solder. Son of a gun. Oh, I'm dropping everything. It's all right. I'll find the other missing pieces in a second. And be careful when you do this kind of crap with your torch. I've burnt things, I think. Underneath here, I was messing with my thing. Oh, right there. Not paying attention where my torch was going, and trying to grab something that fell, and I did exactly what you think I did. I, burnt things. So what I'm doing now is I'm just double checking, making sure that the solder came from the top to the bottom, all the way around these settings to make sure that they're nice and snug. You gotta be careful. If you heat things up too much, you can, your bail will fall off, or that's why it's always good for, this piece here was done in hard. Then went with a medium solder for the jump ring. And then we're at an easy here for our prongs. And then we go to do our bail. We're gonna go with the super easy solder. There's like actually 5 or 6 different types of solder as far as temperature wise. I usually do 3, 4 different types. The most is what I try to stick with. So I have 1, 2. Okay, so here's 1. I have 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means I'm missing 1. 1 piece has fallen. And I'm not sure where it's at. So, I don't know. It looks like, I'm missing one of the, I'm missing that one. Oh, there it is. Boom, found it. Okay. Found it. Whoop, whoop. Good. Okay. So let's just set this back up to the side. Here's a ring we're working on too, by the way. Went with 3 little raindrops on the side there. The opal that's going to go there is this one. I don't know if you guys can see it from there or not, if the flashes it has. It does have some nice little flashes. That one will go there. Here is an Anadamuka matrix with some raindrops on the side there. And then some little beads on the side. It has a little bit of red and green flashes in it. Not a lot, not a real bright piece. But it'll still be a beautiful piece. It'll be one of the less expensive ones just because of the opal. So, since we're there, let's go ahead and get our prong set up for this one. Well, that's sitting in the pickle pot. So once again, we start out with our 10. Boom, 10 to 15. And make our 90-degree bend. And set our pliers out of the way. Grab our piece. Make sure our stamp that we did earlier is on the back. And once again, set up here. Hold on to it. A marker. Son of a gun. I'm dropping opals everywhere. It's not a good thing. There's a little piece of Brazilian cabochon there. And then a piece of willow is here. So the 3 pieces we're working on right now is a piece of Mexican, Brazilian, and willow. African, so. Same thing, drop that. Make a little mark. Set our pliers. Set our marker out of the way. Our cutters. And once again, from the mark, 10 to 15, which is there. And cut. Set that over there, set that there. And going just a little bit past the mark. Just to make sure we're slightly smaller than what we need. We're a little smaller, and that way the prong's gonna open up. We can bend it back in and make them tight. So, oops. So there. So let's get this in here. And get this sized. Make sure this works. There we go. And I'm out. And we're gonna bend that back in place. And we are, you know what? Yeah, we're looking good. So we'll set that over there. And going back to our wire. And because this is gonna be the bottom one, going to 15 this time. Actually, we don't need to go that far. This is a smaller gemstone as far as thickness goes. So, and last time we were there, so let's go here this time. And same thing, layout, marker away, set our pendant, and same thing, 10, 15, and we're cut, and we're good, and pliers is here. This is why setting the pliers in your tray and stuff kind of isn't the best choice. Just a little bit past, because I'm so used to my tools being where they're at. And when I put them down there, I'm like, no, it's not where they go. Oops. So once again, let's get this kind of where it goes. Oops. Okay, where it goes. And coming down. Oops. Okay. Oops. And close it off. Okay. So the same thing. Take that down. And we're going to go ahead and clean up our wire again. You know, same thing we did before. Clean, clean, clean. Brush, brush, brush. Make sure we get it nice and clean, inside, outside, the whole 9 yards. So I guess some good solder sticking there. And remember, your short one's always your first one to set when you go to do it. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'll put that there. First one. And always make sure to check your stamp. 925 stamp is on the bottom. Exactly where we want it. Okay, and now our prongs where we want them. Oops, shoot. Prongs where we want them. And they look good. Oops, bend. Okay, bend it back where it goes. Okay, there's the first one. And, oops. Okay, so that's pretty even there. So second piece is here. Second one is there. And let's shoot, stay. Okay. Stand up a little bit so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Okay, double check everything. And bend your prongs, so they're looking good. Okay, and slowly, be very careful. Okay, that's gonna be all right, okay. So let's get this out, and same thing again. Let's get our flux in there, flux it really good. No reason to be chintzy on the flux. I want things to flow good. And it also helps keep the silver from oxidizing during this process. So it's not a big deal. Same thing, you can see where I put everything that has, mostly like that. We can flip it around and stuff when we're doing our thing. So I'm not sure, I don't think we'll have enough solder here. So let's set that down right there and get ourselves another piece. We're gonna go with soft. So here's a piece of soft. Give me a piece of, there we go, piece of soft. And when you're doing this and you have stuff like this laying on your bench, you can use different color markers. Like I know that this particular one here with the black is super soft. Unmarked, I know it's gonna be hard. I don't have any medium laying out. And then like here, since it's gonna be soft, I just grab this and I give myself a little bit of an S. There we go. Okay, it's not that fancy dancy, but it looks like an S for the most part. So that way I know what it is. Let's see here. So let's go. Yep, that's gonna work for me. Okay. Make sure everything's out of our way. Start heating the piece up so we can get that flux. You'll see how it gets white. It'll bubble up and then it kind of turns nice and clear. So that's what we're trying to get to. And once again, we want to go for the main piece, trying to stay away from the prongs if we can. Watch the prongs, watch your jump ring. Same thing, we're gonna get it hot, and then we're just touching the flux, that's it, we're just touching the flux. Oh crud, I just watched the jump ring move. There we go, way too much on there that time. But, like I said, I just watched the jump ring start to move. So you gotta be very careful, very careful. And once again, getting it hot. Boom, there we go. Shit, there we go, good enough. I don't know if you guys seen that or not, but the jump ring kind of moved a little bit on us. So like this, we're gonna give this a little bit of love here. A little bit of love. Oh, there we go. Okay, well, we're gonna have to fix that jump ring. What we can do is we can just give it a little bit of a bend it on back. So not a big deal. I don't know if you can see that the jump ring did start to fall just a little bit for it. Not a big deal. Let's see how that other piece is looking now that's been in the pickle. And baking soda, rinse it all off. Bring it out. To make sure everything stays dry, because you don't want water on your tools. I'm gonna set this off to the side for a second, this wire. I'm probably gonna cut these down a little bit. We're gonna end the video here pretty soon, but I just whip out my can of air, just to give a little bit of love. Just kind of in, when I'm in a hurry to get things done. That gets rid of some of the moisture in there. I grab my little bitty scrappy piece here for scrap wire. Just going flush with the piece. Cut that. Same thing, go flush. Cut. Throw it in our scraps. And cut. And cut. If you have any doubts in your mind, double check your joints. If you don't think they're good, do not cut those off until you're absolutely sure they're good. Because if you, it's very difficult to, if you cut it to try to solder it back because things just fall apart. So at this moment in time, what I'm going to do, or at least what I do, is I take my prongs and I'm basically straightening them all up. Straighten them all up. Just give them a little bit of straightness here. Straight. And straight. Straight. Just kind of double checking the look, make sure everything kind of looks good for me. And I look around, I find my shortest one. And that's what we're going to start with. So shortest one, just start cutting everything off. There we go. We're just making them all the same size right now. Not a big deal. Okay. So that looks good. Looks good. Okay. So there's that. We'll set this down, put this out of the way. Okay, so on this particular one, we're gonna grab our opal, look at it. We know it's all too big, so let's give it a little look and go, okay, we got some work to do. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our files, and we know, because we brought these into this setting a little bit, we need to take them, give ourselves a flat area. If you look here, on these, if you look here, you can see how we cut these back a little bit. Let me see if I can zoom in for us here. Some of these cleaned up, of course, but you can see, like right here, so the round is, and then we cut it back just a little bit. And that gives us room for the opal to fit. That's all. So we're gonna go ahead and back out again, and we're gonna start sanding that other piece. So same thing here. We're not doing any points or anything yet. We have to get it to the right size for the opal to fit. So make sure your flat area is, like right here. We want to make sure it's even with the circle on how it's going to set the gemstone. So we're right in here. This is a file on both sides, so you gotta be careful because it can cut into there. You can see I'm off a little bit in my angle, which is all right. We'll get that fixed. Always check, always check. Okay, if you notice you're starting to cut into there, you can always switch to your files, like this one here. Has a nice smooth area with no filing, so in that way, now I can go against here, and I know I'm not going to cut the face, which is good. And watch your depth. Sure, nice and even coming up. This one here needs a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. And then we'll go to next one. See how that looks. Looks good. And the same thing, checking this. I can go like this too to see where we're at. There we go. Okay, same thing with this side now. Okay. Oops. And the same thing here. Amazing how much work this stuff takes. A lot of people don't realize the time that goes into doing this. Okay, that's good there. Okay. You want to press firmly to get a good cut with your file. You also want to be careful. You push too hard, you'll take your prongs and bend them. And as any of you know, when you start bending those prongs, to try to bend them back, it's gonna weaken your silver and break off, and you'll be starting over and building a new piece, which is no fun. So I'll get this other one done. We'll dry fit this stone. I think then we'll call this video good for today. That's the angle we want it, which is about right there. Okay, looking pretty good there. Gave it a little bend. Gotta be careful on that. Like I said, if you're not careful, it will break off. I think everything's looking good. So let's just knock our silver down here. So shoot. And drop a piece on the ground. This seems to be a bad habit of mine, which is always fun. So I gotta clean all this up still. We're still that one. Still in the pickle pot. I should have. Jump ring's fine. Okay. So other side now. As far as bench pens go, I really like this one. You gotta get the kind of bench pen you like. You know, and if you don't like it, you can always cut a lot of the stuff out yourself too. Just whip out your saw, you know, your jeweler's saw. Get a nice aggressive blade. And if you want notches or circles, get a drill bit or something. And cut and notch out whatever you want for yours. Then watch, of course, your punch mark for your jeweler's mark to make sure it looks all right. Okay, let's dry fit this stone, see if we're to the right size yet, or we still gotta open it up. So, no, that's looking pretty good there, actually. So what I do is I just double check, make sure it lays flat. Make sure I have clearances everywhere. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is the ones, basically all these are still too tight. So I'm gonna put black marker on the ones that still need to be filed, which on this particular one is gonna be all of them. So not a big deal. It's just for me, so I know. So don't forget. Okay, so there that is. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not on this particular gemstone. This is a Mexican Contra. But there we go. Oh, it's this freaking, this camera's just bad on trying to get to the view of it. Now that's a little bit better, but it's kind of hard to get these to show up when you're, especially on a camera. Cameras are the worst for trying to get these. Oh, there we go. But there's that Contra Leche opal. Things are beautiful. When they shine nice. So we're gonna call that a video for today. I'm gonna continue working on this stuff. But anyway, you guys have a good night. Franklin with Opalholics. Gonna pull this other thing. Yeah, we'll get better at these videos. Thanks for watching, guys.